And once again, hello, hello, hello. Today is January 3rd, 2024. This is recording 622, entitled Faith Speaks. Faith speaks. It may be hard to believe that faith speaks, but it does. It doesn't sometimes speak in an outward voice, but it speaks from within that says, this is the way. Walk ye in it. Faith speaks. It is said that within each individual, there resides without limitation a reservoir of all good. Think about what I just said. It is said that within each individual, there is a reservoir of all good. Its expressions may at times appear in magical proportion. Magical proportion. Why? Because the individual is not so accustomed, not so aware of however things may be resolved. They appear to be magical, but in actuality, as I just stated, they were already in that reservoir. And they need to come out as they need to come out. It is said that this thing called faith would enable one to live without fear of any suggestion that might threaten their well-being. Now, who would not want to have such a gift as this? It is also said that this gift called faith is the only companion necessary to be in one's possession. That means that a person could travel throughout the world with nothing but faith and be secure in every step that they take. If you recall, Jesus said, I send you now, don't take script, don't take a change of clothes, don't take a staff. So what were they taking? They were taking the understanding that this thing called faith was the blessed assurance whereby they would live, they would eat, they would breathe, they would be clothed, they would walk, they would be not in danger. And to attain this is not a selfish thing. Because if we've noticed in the world that we live in, people so-called invent things, but they invent them in a selfish way. They're not invented to share with people. They're invented to be sold to people, and then they have to come up with marketing schemes and ways of purchasing this to make it seem like you're getting a great deal. But the bottom line to the whole process is that this person may achieve selfish remuneration, to be able to live independent of anyone else. This thing called faith is to come to one that they then would be able to share. To be able to share the benefits of this reservoir. Like I said, it is a reservoir that they see, feel, taste, and smell, so to speak, but those around them cannot. It is said that this statement of this kingdom abiding in a person is not hearsay. That's another thing. But it's by only disciplined searching of an individual that one would come to the conclusion that it does exist, but the most important part about it is it exists because of the one who achieved and then turned and told us it does exist. You know, we look out into our world and we constantly look for something to believe in. So therefore we listen to various people. This one said you only need listen to me. For if you hear, he says, my sheep hear my voice. So if you hear my voice with disciplined activity and searching, researching, he says this dynamic gift would come to you. This is where the twist comes in. Many that we meet in life's pathway state that they have this gift. You really can't go to any church gathering where the people within it will not state that they don't have, where they will state they don't have faith. The moment that you begin to speak about faith, all mouths come open and everybody wants to talk about how much faith they have. They'll even tell you what faith is. It is described as a verifiable substance. And then you ask them, how? How would you describe it? You know what they'll say? I do the best I can. I treat people. I follow the Bible. I read the Bible. I go to church. I go to the meetings. I do all those things. I give to the food banks. I give, But if you'll notice, all that they're doing is something outward. They're complying with pre-described and prescribed requirements that others may trust them and believe that they have faith. I said this to somebody that, earlier today, and I truly believe that church is now is becoming a one-on-one, okay? Not so much a congregation, but a one-on-one. You may assemble in the building, but to accomplish faith, it's going to be one-on-one. The minister may describe that you need it, and he may even give instructions on how he feels you can get there, but you, the individual, will have to take those instructions and go one-on-one, believing that they can make contact with something that is not seen but believed to exist. It is described as a presence, a voice, a feeling, etc., that speaks within, that releases one from doubts and fears and assures a positive outcome. I'm reminded of the story about Paul when he's on the ship and the ship is being tossed and turned and the people are fearing for their lives, and they catch some of the sailors even letting lifeboats into the water that they're going to get in, and Paul goes to them and he says, an angel visited me last eve and told me that if you would remain with me on this ship, all lives will be saved. That's faith. Where does one get the gumption to be able to speak like that? It has to come from that reservoir. And why does it come? Because you believe that that reservoir exists and that it is a rewarder of all that diligently seek its truth. My sheep hear my voice, and therefore, if I spend my time in that reservoir, seeking that reservoir, it will speak, and it will speak as a presence. It will speak as a voice. It may speak as a feeling. But nonetheless, it will speak. And when it speaks, it says the earth melts. Now, that doesn't simply mean that mountains just melt like wax or candles, burning. No. It means that the suggested error, the suggested threat will be removed from the conscience of the person who is enjoying faith. I said a whole lot right there if you heard it. That's why you would be able to stay in a situation where others are just going, wild, and you would say, be still and know. Why? Because of a blessed assurance that comes to you and a positive outcome. Although many declare that they possess this ability, their outward conversations express just the opposite. How do I know this? You know it also. Even if you don't have faith, let's just say that you're just a regular person and you walk up to another regular person, 99.99999% of the time, what are they talking about? They're talking about something negative. They're talking about a lack. They're talking about a limit. They're talking about hatred. They're talking about, retribution. They're talking about getting back, incarceration. They're talking about punishment of some kind. And the moment that you mention, well, how do we pray for our enemies? Suddenly a muzzle goes over their mouth, and they basically, in a sense, look at you and say, how dare you bring up praying for an enemy? Well, that's what we were told to do. Well, I pray for my enemies as long as they leave me alone. See, we may stop at I pray for my enemy, but we don't add that as long as they leave me alone. Because I don't want you to know that I don't give a flying leap. But they don't realize that is shutting the door on their blessing, and they think they're hiding it. Like I had to tell somebody the other day, I said, don't think that you can ask God anything or that you can say something to me that you think he doesn't hear. Don't fool yourself. So don't think I'll ask this guy this and then I'll go back and ask God. Well, don't you think he knew your thoughts? I know you're rising. I know you're sitting down. You see, we have to be able to process those people out there. We have to process them that we know are declaring error, even though they think they're declaring the truth. And we have to process the situations within ourselves. In the book of Matthew, chapter 16, the end result of having faith is described in a few verses. It is written that when the ability to bind and to loose is achieved, one would possess the magical key that unlocks the heavens. Now, those verses have been taken out of the scripture and put into a fashion of, as I said, physicality. Whatsoever you bind, and you hear people saying, Satan, who they can't see, right? I bind you in the name of Jesus Christ. Or they'll look at you and say, I loose you from whatever, and nothing happens. Why? Because binding and loosing are not physical expressions that we put. The binding is the ability to know that a truth is they are responding to a truth or implementing a truth, and that truth is responding, and all of that is being done within the conscious awareness of this person. Like I said, if we were to stop and think about the fact of how thousands who knew the truth of God's character. Can you imagine what that was like for him hearing all of these negative stories 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, until Peter does what? And I know who you are. Can you imagine the wave of exhilaration? It's like I spoke a truth to someone earlier today, and they wrote back and said, and I could tell they understood, and it caused my heart to just boom, because I realized they understood it instead of, oh, this is something I got to do. They understood why they had to do it. You see, to control the heavens? Can you imagine the responsibility that's being placed in your hands? And yet the scriptures say what? Son. What is the Son? The only begotten of the Father. So the Father is speaking to the Son, and what is the Father saying? Everything I have, I am placing under your domain. Isn't that what Genesis said? And he gave them dominion over the works of his hands? Wow. All authority in heaven and on earth is now granted to the owner of this key. This is not something to be taken lightly. As Jesus left the earth, what did he say? All power and authority in heaven and earth has been given unto me. Then he said, now I have the authority to send you into the world, and I'm telling you, use this authority. Use these keys to do what? Heal the sick, raise the dead, comfort them that mourn, speak comfort. Know that you have been anointed. See, this is the ordination that comes to us, is when we speak the word and the word goes forth and it does not come back void. Selfishness, greed, and all things related have been discarded. Can you see how cleansed you are? One's ideal of life is to now share this gift with whomsoever will receive it. See, I can't look at someone and say, weren't you in jail last week? Weren't you down there fighting? And I can't look at somebody like that because time has passed those events, and it's not up to me. But I can tell them, if you accept this without changing, you're going to receive the negative nothing. Why? Because I understand the gift. And you must understand the gift, that you can't use the gift of God to make you a better person. Because you're never going to become a better person. Can you see that? We are not changing mortality and materiality into spirituality. You can't do that. For from the beginning, you were created in the image and likeness. That means you have always been what you will always be. You're just throwing off that which you thought yourself to be. It must be recognized that simply meeting physical requirements described by others will not bring about possession of this gift, but a transformation of the individual's conscience must be achieved. Right here, I'm reminded of a line that I repeat a lot. It's in the Indiana Jones movie, and they're looking for this place that's supposed to be sacred and holy. And they have a stick that is 6 foot tall, and you put this emblem on the top of it, and you stick it in a hole, and when you stick it in the hole, when the sun rises, it hits that emblem, and when it hits the emblem, it shows where this sacred place is. And they do this. And the enemy also has come up with the same stick and the emblem. So therefore, they duplicate it. Then they take the emblem to a holy man, and when they get it to the holy man, he tells them about the 6-foot stick with the emblem on it, and they said, okay, we need to go. And then he goes, but on the back of the emblem, it says, but in honor of the God, blah, 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 take off 12 inches, which makes the stick 48 inches tall, which now when the sun hits it, what's going to happen? It's going to cast a beam in a different place. And that line that I repeat all the time is, Indy, they're looking in the wrong place. See, that's it. Man is looking in the wrong place. He thinks he's going to find heaven by doing outward things, but he's not, because his consciousness is not disciplined, or it's not focused in the right area. We must follow what the Lord dictates to us, regardless of what we think we need. There must come to the individual an unshakable reliance which transcends all outward negative suggestions. It's like people running around going, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. What's new about it? Can y'all tell me? If it was a Happy New Year, it'd be like a video game, right? You wipe everything clean, reset, and start over again. But we don't, do we? The same issues that we were dealing with yesterday, the same situations, the same conditions, we're still dealing with them. But if you apply a new principle, if you apply the principle, now you're not moving into a new year. You're moving into a new world, because you're the only one that's going to be able to see what you see, feel what you feel, know what you know. But you will know it so intimately that you will not be moved when they talk about North Korea and the atomic bomb. You know, North Korea could misguide that missile and it end up in West Virginia instead of Washington, D.C., California, New York, or Florida, or Texas, where, you know, or Area 51. Are you afraid? See, we have to come to the place where we understand no weapon formed against my consciousness of truth can prevail against me. Why? Because I have peered into the reservoir and I see its limitless expressions, the availability. This new conscious awareness now outpictures itself as the harmony already latent within. We must remember that we are not suffering when it appears so. I'm going to say that again, because that's hard. We are really not suffering when it appears that we are, whether it be physical pain, whether it be emotional pain, whether it be social pain, financial pain. You are not suffering. The idea that you have thought yourself to be is. That's what's suffering. But it's suffering, it's defeat. You are not suffering. That which you have thought yourself to be is suffering. But it is suffering its dissolution. It's being erased. But you said, but it feels like my knees. It feels like my neck. It feels like my feet. No, yeah. But that's not you. And we achieve the conscious awareness that we are spirit. In the moment that we realize that we are spirit, can we suffer? So therefore, spirit that I am is doing what? It's watching the old man that I thought I was. It's watching it be removed. Where is it being removed? From my conscience. From my conscience. If I think of myself as being mortal, material, now I've got a beginning and I have an end. Well, how can I live if I have an end? I can't. How can I live if I had a beginning? If I was created in the image and likeness of him, image and likeness of him who has no beginning or end. I am immortal. This I keep locked up in me, and I rehearse it over and over and over until he, or the revelation of the understanding of that truth, comes to my conscious awareness and says, I am he that has overcome the world. I, being a spiritual being, allow this vessel, I allow it to go through what it appears to be torment, but it's not torment for me. It's torment for the vessel, and it's thrown off. That's what Paul says, I've been crucified with Christ. We need to get away from the fact that we think there were special people that God chose, and then he lied and said, whosoever shall say to this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast. He didn't say special people such as Nehemiah, Elijah, Ezekiel, Isaiah. He didn't say, no, he said special people as those who understand that I am in the midst of them and they are in the midst of me. While allowing ourselves to be revealed to ourselves, we become more comfortable and confident as the erroneous beliefs are cast aside. Do I need to say that again? While allowing myself to be revealed to myself, you see it? Oh, this is who I am. I become comfortable. The more I become comfortable, I become confident, okay? And the things that I thought made me who I was are now being cast aside to leave me standing in the presence of all that is holy. As with any undertaking, think about it, any undertaking that you thought was worthwhile, did you have to spend time with it? And a lot of times you ended up in conversation with people who were talking about achieving such types of things, and you spoke, yeah, I'm doing that. It's just like when I speak about bass guitar playing. Yeah, I'm a bass guitar player, and the little voice says, but you're not where you want to be. See what I'm saying? Meaning I am not what? As comfortable as I should be or as confident as I should be. But if I keep discipline, searching, practicing, learning theory, training my ear to hear, being able to know, recognize, frets, sounds, won't I become comfortable? And I will become confident. And the activity that I wish to perform will flow through that. The more comfortable we become, our confidence grows, and we find that faith does speak. Amen. God bless you. Let us enter into the silence that we may be revealed as the gift that is. Because I believe I shall be rewarded. I am not rewarded to show others. I'm rewarded because this is the stature of my being. This is the desire that my Lord has, and will always have. For he only sees me in this manner. I will be patient. I will undertake any and every opportunity to allow that which God has placed to come forth. It has to come forth because he has stated that it shall not return void, but it shall express the fullness that it was intended. I am glorified because the Father is glorified. And when you see me, you see him that sent me. And I will not speak out of turn. I will only speak what I hear the Father speak. I will only do what I see the Father do. For I realize that before anything was, the Father is. The Father always is, and the Father's will is always done. For in him I live. In him I move. I can never be separated from him. And therefore, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening.